Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here, and I just got a little too overwhelmed and depressed playing my losing campaign to the Soviets, so I've jumped over to my other campaign in which we are examining how well TRE is working with Black Ice 10.51. Now I know they're at 10.52 or 3 out now, and I will update. And I don't know that it's going to cost me much time or whatever getting it for the. That's too fast. Slightly newer version. Yes, you may have energy. I do hope to get back to modding soon. A lot of stuff is partially done. Sweden wants energy, sure. Now, how is Sweden doing diplomatically compared to us? With us, say that. Okay, where are they? Right here. So they are. Sweden is mostly drifting to the Axis. Okay, but they're very close to the Allies up here. Interesting. Okay, mountain unit training. Equipment. Oh, is it down here? Yes, 1937. Okay. Yeah, we'll let that continue. What flavor weapons are you using? You know, you can show. Sure, Arno, we can do that. So here they say we're using semi-auto. This is. I know Arno likes to see these, but you know, this photo has the semi-auto rifle, which yeah, that's a 1941 rifle that they made. I think so. 37, way too early for that. Early machine gun that they did very few of. And for armor, Panzer 1s. Yeah, 37 Panzer 1s would probably be the most common, though Panzer 2s would be coming up in fairly decent numbers. Yeah, more Panzer 1s. Infantry tank, yeah, the big old Neubart Fahrzeug. So yeah, they're just Pack 36 would be about right. Tank destroyers they didn't have yet, but that would be sort of right. Yeah, armored cars, heavy AA. Well, they would already be using the Flak 18 for heavy AA. Yeah, Gewehr 41. I'm not sure whether that was the Mauser or the Walter Gewehr 41. They both had a trials gun. Doing that. Getting a lot of that into production. We'll get to units soon. Oh, fuselage aerodynamics. Pop right up. Okay. No, that's here. Yeah, stop that. We've got other, yeah, self-sealing tanks, I guess. Keep that in the aeronautical. Okay, tank destroyers, yes. Advanced. We'll do medium armor designs. Yeah, there we go. Click the right things. Yes, you can have energy Uruguay. Well, multiple heavy tank units while you can, you will need them. Well, right now, yeah, right now we can't. Um, we don't yet have heavy armor designs to build those, and we're not going to build infantry support tanks. So we will see. We'll install our blueprints and what? Okay, submarine damage control acquired by enemy artillery carriage designs. That's the one that just happened. Okay, 37 or 38. We'll take that off. We can do 38s, but I don't want to do 39s just yet. I would prefer to do 37 technologies if we have decent ones still needing to be done, but I'm not seeing too many of those. Well, let's push the gasoline in this full. You may have metal. They're still in a civil war over here. Okay, canceled. Well, fine. Bendener Sorge with burning concern. If anyone, if any, well, people use whatever they can to attack whatever they don't like. The Catholic Church as a whole was very anti-Nazi, um, very much so. We will lose 4 unity and gain 2 in dissent because our Catholic population will not be happy after this happens. So yeah. Yeah, I know that in sort of Croatia area, there were some Catholic priests and whatever, and what is it? Tiso was a Catholic priest, I think, or whatever, running over in Slovakia. Um, so yeah, you do get some, and there's sort of a minority within it that are, whether it's pro-Nazi or just local. Some of it's more local nationalistic. Okay, let's do one of these for now, so we don't stack up too many all at once, because we do have the the here. Where is that? I don't know. Spawn. We are getting more units coming in. They've launched a battleship. Okay, range finding equipment, nice. Well, to keep our manpower up, let's push now on mass events. We've seen what can happen with our manpower in the other game. Yeah, Road Manor. What I want to do is once I get TRE done and released, and some of the other submods are all updated and fit and work with that. If things are stable enough, I would like to have a multiplayer game with a German, Italian, and Japanese player on one side, and an American, British, and Soviet player on the other side, and play historically, as in leading up to any nation coming into the war, and work out any of the details, talking with the other players. Now, once they're in the war, no one's saying that the Americans need to do Operation Torch. They can just decide to, once they're in the war, they can decide to send huge numbers of forces, to Britain over here in Egypt and push that way, or decide to invade Norway or whatever. It's not meant to mean that everyone has to follow World War II script, but no cheesy American invasions of various Latin American countries, or somehow get America in early, or whatever, things like that would, unlikely to have happened in reality, kind of thing. But once you're in, it's sort of mostly do what you want. Seaport capabilities. At least that's how I envision this. Okay, those are good, but let's... This is down manpower, but we need the industry up. Yeah, let's do this. Whenever I play and have problems like losing manpower, I become overly sensitive to things like that. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm working towards is for a series. Soviet Union, we would give them money for crude oil. Okay. Do that. Well, Rogue Manor, are you are you in my Discord server? That is a requirement and will be a requirement. If not, Arno can post an invite in the chat there on Twitch and in YouTube if he would like, and we can talk about it. Well, I don't mean right now, but I mean just generally a member on the Discord server. You should get in there if Arno would post a link. Hey, Eric! Thanks for the raid. Thank you. Hey, Niagara. So, yeah, we'll see who, and it's partially going to be dependent upon, quite honestly, there's one, how good your computer is, because that does matter in how fast your computer can play. Does matter your internet connection. Part of it is where you are in the world. Just from testing, I know that those two things do matter in syncing up multiplayer games. So if those are good enough, I'm not saying you got to be the best. You just have to be good enough to play well in testing. So those are two of the biggest requirements. 3 would be, and I haven't set a date or a time, but would be routinely available like once a week. Let's just theoretically say Friday evening once a week, or what, it may end up being a Sunday morning. I don't know, but it just, and I don't know if obviously where you are in the world and what time that might be, but that you would routinely be able to show up. I understand there's emergencies. So, those kind of considerations come in. It also, accounting for games is definitely on the invite list. If all of those, will work out for him. He's another streamer, smaller streamer, but a good guy. And maybe I could induce a couple other streamers to, stream their, from their nation. And playing a smaller, thanks, Arno. So those are playing some of the smaller nations. The only reason I would be concerned about like that I would love to have somebody playing somebody like Romania or France, um, or Australia or Canada. Is just if we're testing, if more players means more instability. That would be my concern. Um, but definitely willing to test it. So just get into the Discord server, be sort of available, and we'll see what goes. So no promises anything yet. And again, I just sort of included this for multiple reasons. FW Assman and Sons, Shones, and now that you've joined, I wrote this plot. Now that you've joined the SS, you need a spiffy uniform to have people properly fear you. Without that, why join the SS? This is here's the up here in the detail is with the whole sort of advertisement. That's a real period advertisement. Yes. So Eric, how's your day been? I guess you hope well. Well, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. It's my dream to play it because I've always wanted it, whether online, as part of a uh, series on YouTube or just to play it. I've always wanted to play multiplayer, but play it right and play it well. Okay, infantry unit training, which here is grayed out. Okay, good. Military police advance. Is that the one down here? 37. Okay, I think we can do this too. Useful research. Mobile unit training. 58. We'll shift this. Oh, and then we'll do that. Okay. Move these to 37s. There we go. And so my dream is, to have a human player playing the Soviet Union and making good, rational decisions. And if they defeat me, they defeat me. That would make good television. And having the one thing I do sort of fear with the human player and doing this is like Britain's over ability to, reinforce or something into the, into Egypt or something unrealistically. I don't know. I don't know how that's going. Okay. The National Socialist Flieger Corps. Do we want to sort of, as a successor, do we want to form this? We can decide not to, but yeah. So we'll gain some manpower, which basically is like pilots and whatnot. Get a lot of people interested in flying. Communications. Okay, and okay, both 38s, which is not a problem researching 38s, but let's get all the 37s done here first. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Playing a multiplayer game like that. Why didn't that pop up? Don't know. Mountain equipment. Yes, good. Yes, nationalist China. That'd be another interesting one to play with a human. Okay, infantry unit command and control. We'll get to some of these 38s soon, but I think I would rather get to some of the 38s that matter now more. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, resignation of Dr. Gaudler? Gaudler? I don't know. What's his name? There was quite a bit of opposition to the Nazis. Seaport level 2. So until August, we'll 5% down on ICs. So we'll get a little bit more money, 0.2% and 0.2% better on resources. That seems reasonable. Because yeah, I guess in theory of any active nation in the war, you know, um, if it wasn't taking up resources, would be cool to have a human player or nations that might become active. Because we don't really need like a Paraguay or Uruguay, but a Spain, Yugoslavia, Hungary, even theoretically a Slovakia, but a Romania, Bulgaria. If Turkey is going to be well, see if if you're going to decide to invade Turkey, yeah, but Turkey shouldn't join the war unless somebody invades it. But yeah, I guess I've always thought if I ever had super amount of money, I'd just pay a bunch of people to. Their job would just be to, when I want, they all jump online and play against, play their roles, instead of having all the AI. But I mean, like a super lot amount of money. Just have people that all their job is to play OIF 3 against me, or allied with me, or whatever. Spain, yes, more energy, sure. How's your war doing? Right, you've taken your capital, but they're still got a third of the country. Mobile unit command and control. These texts matter, but they don't matter right now because it doesn't matter my current organization or my current morale for units because they're not in combat. These matter because we're building up, national infrastructure and such. But we may as well push ahead on that a bit earlier. Yeah. And gun ability, twin engine planes. Yeah, we should also be doing some of these. Let's get oil refining first, then rare material. Problem with historical multiplayer is that it won't be a game only role-playing nation because it's so easy to fix some historical decision and actions to derail historical flow even in 39 ending it. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. There would be house rules with anything that I'm thinking of doing. Is, you know, like the Netherlands and Belgium, of course, won't join, anybody's faction unless Germany attacks. Um, Things like that. It would sort of be, the war will start the way it'll start with Germany's attack on Poland. I typically like to start it in the spring of 40 instead of the winter of 39. But either way, and this is, everything, it does sort of say, and I would, in the discussions on, Discord, discuss the house rules and, are you planning something unhistorical? Talk about it first. Yeah, I know it's sort of supposed to be a surprise attack, but we got to sort of agree upon some basic ground rules, that kind of thing. France are not allowed to attack Germany in September. Well, no, I'd say because they do the Saar offensive. I think in September, they could do that, but it depends if you've got a nicely built up, west wall and a lot of good units there. It'd probably be counterproductive for them to attack. Very willing to have them give a go at it. And something like that, if you played up to, the start of the war and then they attack and we go, oh, that's a bad idea, we can go back to an earlier save, early enough before they start all this stuff and, lose a lot, take a lot of losses or whatever. So I'm willing to, that's part of the curiosity is for me. Oh, we wanted to do more industry here. We don't need steel production. We don't need to push early on steel production or coal production. We're still going to do that, but in a more time, and not pushing in soon. Advance fast. I'm mumbling. I know. Okay, we want to do more agriculture, which will increase our manpower. It would be a fun experiment to go what's going on if the Allies wanted to attack. Now, not through Belgium or through Luxembourg. It's only going to be along through along their shared border. Well, I like the term. It's semi-historical. It's not meant to be historical. It's meant to be semi-historical. And if the Allies wanted to do Britain and France wanted to do that, that would be interesting. Now, remember, it would be with TRE, so there, as well as GGA, so you would have a lot of SA units. They're not very good, but there's a lot of them. And there would also be the Werecrest system that GGA adds, which would be a lot of home army units, as well as the Ersatz army units that Third Reich Events adds. So there's a lot of other units that Germany has that normally aren't in the game. So I don't know how smart it would be for them to try to push early on. That I believe is one of these somewhere. Here. Stop that. Okay. Hey, Beam Slam. Yeah, this is with TRE, Third Reich Events. I say it like I expect everybody to know what I'm talking about. Yes. So this is 37 with Third Reich Events. And it has both the Ritter essay, the cavalry, as well as the standard essay. Absolutely, it is. Great purges, yes, medium popularity. We've lost our low. Okay, good. So that's good for us. And somebody stole. Let's hope it was a soon-to-be allied nation that stole our blueprints. Let's pause this. Yeah, there is a lot of industry down here, for sure, including in Sarbuck in here. But with TRE, you'll have the chance to build up a fairly decent west wall. We would give them money for crude oil. Okay, well, before we do that, let's see if we can. Soviet Union, they need supplies, so let's see if we can sell them a bunch of supplies. Let's see if that they accept it. Okay, now I can afford it. Not a lot, but some. Well, in Freeman's birth, you can play Black Ice. Let's hit the save button just to be on the safe side. I don't know that. Now, of course, if we have a France player, that becomes more interesting. But if we're just talking about the 6 people that I'm talking about playing with, you'd only have a British player, and I don't think Britain can push into Germany effectively, and France isn't going to help much. So I don't. The West Wall is reasonably formidable. It may not be as effective as the Maginot Line, but it's a pretty big thing. So yeah, if there was a France player. Now, also understand my understanding is, and I've talked to the current Black Ice crew, they agreed 100% with me that these French units, and I don't know exactly all the modifiers they have, but these French units, some of them are pretty good, but once they shatter, or they have a really bad time trying to regain organization. So their organization regain rate is really, really bad, my understanding. I haven't gone and looked at all the code, because they agreed with me is the way to make France historical is to have good units, with the proper, artillery and reconnaissance and all of that, and give them decent stats, but make them, once they're defeated, really hard to get back playing again, because because there's what's in the game, regain rates, and organization regain rate is just make that really bad for France. So basically, once the unit loses its organization, it's done. Especially if you're Germany and you're pushing on the offensive. So if you can keep pushing on the offensive, once you break that French unit, it might be able to retreat fast enough, depending on what unit it is and what's attacking it. So if it's armor units attacking infantry units, once they attack, the armor will overrun the infantry just because speed. But say if it's infantry attacking the armor, the French army would be able to keep retreating in time, but never get to where it's properly organized up to give a proper defense again. Well, on the offense, it may be not quite as bad as that, but if it goes in and loses half of its organization in one battle, and even if it wins, it's either going to have to sit there for a long time to regain its organization to be able to go on the offensive again, or it's going to go on the offensive with only half of its organization, and it's going to lose that. And so that will simulate the reality of France, in that they're not very flexible of a force. And so, you know, and of course, the question comes down to is that once Poland is defeated, Germany's going to be able to react with its army very quickly. I don't know. Yes, Deutsche Kraftkart, NSKK magazine. Not going into all the details. I've talked about them in other playthroughs, and I will likely someday when I'm playing in more detail talk about some of the stuff a bit more. Okay, more supply production. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. It would be an interesting test. That's why I want to do this. I'd love to have a French player. Oh, why we paused because we also had another thing pop up. I didn't realize. Okay, fighter bomber prototype increased. Oh, what's that one? Oh, what? Wasn't paying. I thought that was an event. Wasn't paying close enough attention. Talking too much. Get to the right thing. Okay, fighter bomber prototype. Stop that. We're now at 38. I don't know. Let's keep looking at industry here in the nation building. Broadcasting. Okay, Hindenburg disaster. Spies, it must be spies. Board work AG, increase foreign investment or too much. We can not do it, but we're going to do this until May 16th, so 10 days, 6%. See, that's this is a TRE one. It's fairly heavy, 6%, but it's just for 10 days of a cost for basically an industry. One more in Cologne. Mercedes-Benz, do we want to have staff cars and get another industry or not? Yes. I love these big things. Well, if you had a human player playing Poland, that would affect that. The AI, no, so. And especially if the Soviets are coming from the other side. Small warship screws and rudders. No, I totally okay. Which one is this? Small. Oh, screws and rudders down here. Okay, there it is. We'll cancel that. We can do this. But I would like to try these. We'll see how it goes once and if I get everything set up. 4-engine. Here. Okay. It may be a problem. It may not. I don't know. I'd love to try it. Yep, just more supply production. Demonstration of the Ritter SA. Some of these, because it's only hitting you by 400 supplies, but a lot of that activity. Hello, Paul. Good to have you here live. Well, good to know that you would like to watch it. And yeah, I think semi-historical is the key term. and I guess to some degree, because it'd be me setting up, it's what do I think is historically plausible. The U.S. wasn't, because I know some players like, oh, well, I justify and get a war with, Colombia or Venezuela or whatever. Yeah, not as the U.S. No, they wouldn't have done that. It's got to be things that are historically plausible, but they don't need to follow completely the historical script. Twin engine fighter prototype. At least that's my view of it. You don't have to do the torch landings. I don't, comes in. You could, my thoughts would be, if you're able in the game and you decide, well, I'm not going to do torch. I'm going to invade Sardinia, or I'm going to go straight to Sicily, or hey, I'm going to land in, Vichy, France down here. That kind of stuff would be something that I would find really interesting. Would have been defeated earlier if they did a serious attack into Germany in 1939. They didn't have the offensive capacity and will for the... Yes. Beam slam, I agree. They did not have... The will for the task, I think, is the biggest thing. Because the distances are so short, I think they were logistically capable of going on the offensive. Not like into the scale of the Soviet Union or something. I think their command and control was bigger than theoretical offensive capacity, as the idea of infantry attacking, artillery attacking, tanks attacking. I think they had all that well enough, and we can sort of kind of see that in their advance into Belgium. Now I know that was into friendly territory, but we can see that kind of, yes, they had that capacity, but it's their will to do it, one, and two, their command and control to be able to deal with the realities of a shifting and changing battlefield that is they just didn't have the ability to do that. I see that as being their weaker thing. At least that's how I read the situation. Wouldn't be any forces big enough to beat France, then all forces were fighting in Poland, and Stalin was waiting for a reaction of the West. Well, Stalin didn't wait long for the invasion of Poland. Polish troops moved into Romania after. Yes, there fairly largest numbers did make it to Romania. And a lot infiltrated out. Some made it up through Lithuania. Yeah. But even after that, there was only 2 Polish divisions that they were able to form in France after that. Only 2 divisions. One of them ends up being interred in Switzerland for the rest of the war, because once France is falling, they retreat into Switzerland, and the other one retreats to Britain. I have some photos of what looks to be British troops riding around in the French UE tractors, the little armored tractor things that they had. Well, those were Polish troops that had been evacuated, and they evacuated the tractors. They were able to get them out, get out their equipment with them, but they had swapped over from French helmets and uniforms to British helmets and uniforms, but still were using some of their French heavier equipment for a while up in Scotland for training. So they only really got out, but also realize those 2 divisions of manpower also includes other Polish males that got out some other way, or were in exile, civilians or former military or whatever. So yeah, you say, yeah, there were a bunch of troops that did make it out through Romania, and some through Hungary, but more through Romania. Romania was still trying to be friendly allies. But overall in scale, it's not that much. Really? I mean, it sounds like a lot. I don't know the numbers. 20,000 or something. Yeah, okay, that's like 2 divisions worth. Oh, well, we switch. We're still playing Hoi 3, but we switched campaigns. Okay, the seaplane base up here. Um, so if you do that, you'll get more bases, more air bases here, basically, and some. So we will spend the supplies, rare materials. That's a photo of it. Um, Trevamunde. I butcher these unless I've heard them. Well, this is one thing that most war games, because of abuse, don't do well. There was the whole home army of Germany, the Einsatzheer, the sort of fake army, or whatever you want, however you want to translate that. Um, that was pretty damn large. Now and I had some help. That's why I say we've added a bunch of that with TRE that existed. I don't know quite the percentage of it, but we've added a bunch in. Now you can go use those units on the front line because they're units, or you can leave them at home. And of course we have the SA, which was a paramilitary formation, but definitely part of the militia defending Germany, if you will. And so then GGA, Revolverheld's mod, he adds the Wehrkrest system, which has a lot of home garrisons for units or training elements that would have, were formed up, would have been put into the field for defense. I don't know that it would have been terribly, as easy to overrun as people think. And that's, we can talk about French mentally weren't ready to do it, and that mentally that's from the common soldier to the high command of the military to the political leadership. All of that, they weren't mentally ready to go on the offensive. They learned how to fight World War I. They became the great expert on fighting World War I. They wanted to refight World War I. And also remember, it is, I say that because in a technical sense, it's very true. They have, their tanks spread out, their tanks, and they use World War I style tanks, 2-man FT-17s, or, well, you type, modernized to the R-35 and the H-35. The Hotchkiss and the Renault little 2-man tanks, or they have some of the big Char-B type things, sort of, from the bigger tanks of World War I. They have these 2 types of tanks, and they've got machine guns, and they're much better than those those crappy shows, but they got all of that. But also, so technically they have super World War I equipment. Now they're fighting World War II, which is a different war, but they got super World War I equipment. But you also have to remember the other thing, that's history is key to understanding a lot of this, at least in my opinion. And you look at the history. Okay, you got Napoleon, but since Napoleon and Napoleon and before, you have France moving into, this region here. Belgium, Netherlands, Rhineland, heading this sort of region. All kinds of campaigns with, whether they're fighting the Dutch or they're fighting the Prussians or fighting the Austrians or whoever they were fighting in this part of territory. And you have Napoleon moving around and doing all this stuff. But since Napoleon was done, and you also have to remember the two endings of Napoleon, both have Paris occupied. Okay, first the Allies come in and defeat Napoleon. Napoleon goes into exile to Elba. think this is Elba. One of these islands down here would be it if this isn't it. It isn't specifically on the map here, but goes down to Elba. And then he comes back for the 100 Days campaign, and the Allies again invade and occupy Paris. Okay. So twice now that they've lost, and then the first time the Allies came up and occupied Toulouse, coming in from Spain. But the second two times from that. Okay, you have that, 2 occupations of Paris coming in there. And then you have the Franco-Prussian War, which again is a defensive war for France. France loses that war. France tries to do a lot better in World War I, almost loses, would have lost had it not been for the British. Because, yeah, the miracle on the Marne and using the taxi cabs and other trucks and buses to get the troops, yeah, that's all true. But that's just for the moment that stabilizes the front. Had the British not been there, the Germans would have pushed into Paris again. So, so you have in the 19th and early 20th century defensive wars against Germany. This has trained France to be defensive against Germany. And so they have this whole defensive mindset, Okay. And so with all of that, they're not, it's not that, they do the Saar offensive. It's not that they can't, and they do lots of offensives during World War I. But they don't have the mindset to mobilize and attack and push into Germany. That is the cripplingest thing. And what reinforces this, of course, is building the Maginot Line, which just reinforces this defensive thinking. And so all that comes down to why just France is just incapable of attacking Germany on any big dynamic path. It just really is. And Czechoslovakia and Poland do not understand this. They fundamentally do not understand this. Romania does not understand this. Czechoslovakia, Poland, and Romania do not understand this. I think it's, I forget, maybe it's in 37 or 38. There's events for it in Third Reich Events. I don't remember these. Even though I make them on, I don't remember these things. I'm just sitting here. Romania goes on a big diplomatic offensive to try to get an alliance with either France and or Britain. I mean, it can be either one or preferably both. They both rightfully turn them down. Now, at this time, they're not worrying about Germany. They're worrying about Russia, or the Soviets. Both of these nations realize that their people are not going to want to go to war to defend Romania from the Soviets, from the Bolsheviks. So they turn Romania down. Well, Romania doesn't, at this moment, understand that France is in no way mentally going to put in forces to defend Romania from the Bolsheviks. France might send lots of shipments of arms, like it did in World War I, but it's not going to send troops of any meaningful amount. Oh, there might be some foreign legions and some elite armor unit or something like that, theoretically might be sent, but not to change the outcome of a war here. Oh, France suffered huge amounts in World War I. That's very true. And that's all coming into this mindset. So Romania still is like, oh, we could have a good, strong alliance and they'll help us out. Nope. Czechoslovakia is like, well, hey, a Franco-Czech alliance, keep Germany in check. Yes, I used the Czech there. Now the flank gets turned with Austria, but they're still thinking that, yeah, France will go to war and help. What? No, France is not mentally set up to come, go on offensive war. Oh, they will, close the border, stop trade with Germany. maybe if they see a German soldier across the border, shoot their rifle or their artillery piece at him. But almost in theory, if Germany were to pull out of artillery range, the French are just going to sit in their fortress and go, yeah, we're at war with those Nazis over there somewhere, pointing out over there. That's all the French are going to do. That's all the French are going to do. They're relying upon the whole reason Daladier does not, or how do I say this, does not come to Czechoslovakia's aid during the Munich conference is because Britain, under Chamberlain, realizes, hey, we're in no shape to fight Germany right now. We got to start arming. Immediately after the Munich conference, he goes home and with his, peace for our time, not in our time, but for our time now, basically for our time to prepare for war. And he immediately goes and starts rearming Britain in a serious way. Now, they could have done more, absolutely. How much more, I don't know in a practical sense, politically at that time. But I'm sure they could have done more, but I don't know how much or if it was materially more, but because you can always do a little more. And so what France is relying upon to defend Czechoslovakia, and Daladier is willing to go in 1938, willing to go to war with Germany, if Britain is also at war, because what they're relying upon is the British fleet to sit out here and go, no trade for you, and they're going to go, yeah, we're not trading here, and maybe sort of blockade, do minimum imports so there's no real trade through here, and just sit there. Because France is not planning on, in 1938 and whatever, is not planning on marching troops to Berlin. They're just going to sit behind their wall and be at war. They're relying upon Britain to be the active member of the alliance, and when Britain doesn't want to participate in it, Daladier's, well, if Britain isn't doing it, I ain't going into this. So that's why Czechoslovakia gets betrayed, because Czechoslovakia doesn't understand that France is unwilling to go on a serious offensive. And then Poland is the same thing. Now, Poland, of course, wants this little bit of land and is like, yeah, take the Sudeten land. We also want our bit here. And Romania can have, or Hungary, I should say, can have their bit here. And yeah. Oh, oops. You mean we just... Our one real possible ally here, well, one of two, Romania would be the other one. We just weakened our ally instead of like going, yep, we should go to war. So, but then Poland goes into their alliance with France and Britain, thinking it's going to somehow save them. This is not a question. Danzig ist Deutsch. The free city of Danzig is entirely controlled basically by the Germans. I say entirely and basically. Yeah, there are a few Polish troops. The postal system and a couple of other things are run by Poles. But the city is run by Germans. The SS is there in strong numbers. The SA is there in strong numbers. In any moment, in any hour of the day, Hitler could have made a phone call and says, hey, Danzig, uprise, join Germany, and it would have been done in a few hours and over. It's not over Danzig. It's over the Danzig corridor. Okay. What should Poland have done? Well, Poland's fucked just about any way it's going to do it. Poland should have given in on the demands for the Danzig corridor. Now, would that have saved Poland? No. But it's not defensible. This whole area here, this forward defense is not, having all these troops up here is not defensible. Should have just evacuated it. That's what they should have done. But still the war would have come. But maybe 6 months later. In 6 months, you can do a lot of preparation, including getting the Western Allies better off. what's been slaying, and interesting speculate the situation where France were prepared to go to offensive. Yeah, thanks to Chamberlain, we got World War II. Germans were not ready for it. Yeah, nobody was ready for it in 1938. That's quite true. All Czech and Poland's fault. I'm sick of this. Danzig Court is only a mirage ruse, not the real reason. Oh, absolutely. It's not the real reason. Hitler wants a war, but Hitler wants a small training war. He does not want a war with Britain or France. Because Britain and France backed down over Czechoslovakia, he thinks they're going to back down over Poland. He's mistaken about Poland. As I always say, warfare is a political act. Have to understand the war within the politics and diplomacy, but diplomacy is just a type of politics of the time. So, yeah, it's not Poles or Czechs' faults. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they were relying upon the idea that France was going to be, a good partner to go to war with. I'm just trying to envision in my mind a scenario that these Central or these Eastern European countries would have somehow survived. I don't know. Invasion Department on Marine Celestes. Yeah, timeline. You're absolutely right. Pulling from the west, the sea. Hello, Sebastian. You're absolutely right. But my answer would be so. What are they getting? What are they? And maybe somebody can inform me. What are they getting through that sea lanes? Now, it was the only way was the West to attack, hoping for Stalin to be insecure and waiting and see if it would help. Yeah, well, see, if you don't have the Soviets as a problem, Stalin, the Soviets, however you want to say it, then there's a way. But with the Soviets, I can't see it. Because in peacetime, now one of the proposals that Germany made, and Poland could have said yes to it. Now, Germany did not want them to say yes. Like I say, they want a training war. They just want a plausible excuse for a training war. But one of the proposals was to give enough of the corridor to Germany, but Germany was going to let them keep Gdynia and allow them to have a rail route through cross German territory. But you can run your trains, guys. We won't interfere with your trains running. And so during peacetime, it would flow. But even if it's because at war, once you're at war, Germany controls the Baltic for all intents and purposes. Even if you have this here. And 3 or 4 submarines and the 3 destroyers that Poland has, that's nothing of a navy. That's almost why even have it, quite honestly. Quite honestly, I don't know why you even have a Polish navy. Yeah, it looks good for propaganda, but what realistic... Oh, they're going to go to war with Lithuania and be able to blockade Lithuania while the Poles march up through here. Or, they're going to go to war with, I don't know, China. And You'll send some ships to China or go to war with Uruguay. Yes, yes, yes. Uruguay pisses them off for some reason, and they go to war with Uruguay. What are those little destroyers going to do? What's the purpose? To guard the coast from the invasion of Sweden or the invasion of Estonia? Estonia might have invaded. I mean, what's the point of a Polish navy? Quite honestly, I don't see that. So now, up until I think 38, Czechoslovakia does have ports. They have one here in one here in Bremerhaven, I believe. They have one up in Stettin. No, maybe it's not Bremerhaven. It's Hamburg. They have one in Hamburg. They have a port in Hamburg, and they have a port in Stettin. And they actually literally have ports there that are extraterritoriality. They have a little Polish port flying a little Polish flag, and for here, barges can go up the river. Germany cannot look inside the barges, and they come into Czech territory, and they can take goods back and forth to the port and load on ships. And I think it's trains. But maybe, no, I don't know if they're coming barges. I think it's trains up to Stettin. And they can load whatever they want in the trains. The trains have to be run along German railway tracks, going to the port and unload. Can move anything they want. Germany can't look inside them, can't stop them. It isn't until Germany, I think it's in 38, takes over and stops that. That's all part of the greater set of treaties of Versailles. Whether it's the actual Versailles Treaty or some of the other later ones that were all within that framework, that gives Czechoslovakia a couple of ports. And I think there was one other port somewhere it gave them on the German coast. Again, wouldn't matter a minute after they go to war with Germany, but until then, it's still... The 4 U-boats were a threat to German ships. They had to be neutralized. But with this assumption, why do you need a navy? Everybody can disband navies. Yeah, but why build a navy? Well, okay, we're looking at this time period. Why would Sweden have a navy? Well, let's look at this. You have the Soviet Union sitting over here. You have a land connection here that is, during winter, I believe, impassable for armies to move. So the only way the Soviets are going to be able to invade is across here, across the Baltic Sea. The only way the Germans are going to be able to invade is 2 ways. Well, yeah, I guess theoretically you could do airborne invasion too from Finland if you take Finland. So, yeah, but airborne isn't that big of an invasion. And again, airborne isn't that big of an invasion. So the only way you're going to get into Sweden is through the ocean, or through, well, seas. Oceans are out here, but yeah, seas. So if you have enough of a navy, you're defending yourself. That doesn't mean your navy won't be able to be sunk, but it serves a purpose. Because what I'm saying is the Navy isn't here. The Navy can't keep your supply lines open. Can't really go out. I mean, sure, the submarines, which they basically all flee to Britain, but sure, the submarines can go out and try to sink some German ships, and it would be bad luck for the Germans if they do, and it's sort of like, yeah, we lost some ships, whether they're naval ships or transport ships. But no, unless you're coming through Norway or coming through here, you have to go through the sea basically to successfully, because in the 1930s, air invasion, airborne paratroopers isn't that big of a thing. It becomes more and more, but still, it's not that big of a thing. You can do a commando raids, you can do small landings, a division or 2 divisions by air or something, but 2 divisions isn't going to take Sweden, not if they're halfway prepared. So you got to come through the ocean. It makes sense to have a navy. Can you build a navy big enough to stop the German navy for Sweden? Maybe. Depends on how big the German Navy is. Denmark. Here we go, Denmark. Well, Denmark is islands. And their capital is on an island. A navy can help there. A navy, you know, now are they going to build a big enough navy? Not terribly big. But you know what? Denmark still owns out here. Still owns out here. So it needs a navy to protect Iceland. Or to keep Iceland from revolting. So if somebody were to smuggle in a bunch of rifles into Iceland, and the local Icelanders were going to revolt, the Danes need a navy to go out there to, land some troops and do offshore bombardments to get your troops ashore. They need a navy to control Iceland. You need a navy for that. Poland does not have any overseas colonies. The Netherlands, the Dutch, they still got all this out here. They need a navy. They got all these islands out here. You mean, they have islands. They have islands out here. They need a navy out here. Even if it's not to protect the Netherlands from Germany or from Belgium, it's to protect their overseas possessions. Also, why does Sweden need a navy? Well, they got ships sailing all over the world. Norway has ships sailing all over the world, more so I think than Sweden, but I'm not sure on the numbers in comparison. How many Polish freighters are there sailing around? Around the world. How many? I don't know, but probably not very many. And I did think about commerce protection, if Lithuania was to go to war with Poland or something, and they're trying to grab Polish ships or something, that might be a thing, but that's hardly a thing. So I'm really looking at Poland as, if I'm going to spend defense dollars or whatever their thing, do I build ships or buy ships? No, I buy artillery pieces or ammunition or machine guns or aircraft. I don't build ships. I don't put money into a training center for Polish naval officers, for Polish sea recruits. That just seems ridiculous to me. To me, it does. In these, we're talking about these conditions here. It just seems ridiculous. And that's sort of the way. Again, maybe Sweden was going to go to war with Finland, and Sweden wants to invade Finland because, it needs a navy. Was Poland thinking about maybe they were going to invade Finland? I don't know. Poland was actively building large. Okay, well, if they were building, I don't know the Polish merchant marine size. I don't ever remember seeing any in any of the propaganda movies of World War II, the Hollywood and other things, any Polish ships being mentioned, merchant vessels. I didn't think they didn't exist. I just don't know how many and if it's worthy of doing. Isn't still on the army of land. Yes, Sebastian. Well, didn't we just discuss Romania? A lot of troops, Polish troops. I thought, and Poland gets their gold out through Romania. I thought their supply lines could go through Romania or Yugoslavia and then through Romania. There's other ways out there. Okay, we would give them medal for money, sure. 4-engine bomber crew layout. Here we go. Infiltration tactics. I think those are for one of these. Let's be over here. Okay, here, 1930. Yeah, we'll keep that going. And stormtrooper tactics will also keep going. Oh yeah, well I'm just not familiar with Polish Navy or Polish Merchant Marine. I'm not saying they didn't exist, and maybe they're bigger than I think, and maybe there's reason to have a Polish Navy. A large merchant marine is a reason to have a navy, because if some nation, I don't know, El Salvador, decides to go, oh, we're going to confiscate these 3 Polish ships that are in our port, you may want a navy to steam over there and go, hey, give our ships back, or we're going to not let any ships come in and out of your later in and out of your ports or something. So maybe there is enough reason, but still, I don't think any reason you can give would be enough to counterweight that there would be better. I'm not seeing anything that it would be better to just build more artillery pieces and aircraft and other things. More pride of nation, shall we say, than it is of, okay, we're going to come over here and do this. More pride of nation to have a Polish Navy. Because they're just, surrounded by enemies. Problem there was lands and activity implementing them, but the war stopped everything. Yeah, oh, I understand. The war stopped everything. Okay, let's save this. Okay, guys, I think we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you so much for watching. I really, Lorgius, Plusquil? I don't know. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Don't mean to, but I'm sure I am. Thank you for your input on Poland. I really do appreciate that. And if you're sort of new here, you can, of course, hit the follow or subscribe button, depending YouTube or Twitch. And do appreciate that. Hit the like button. And like I say, post comments below. See you all next time for even more, yes, more Hearts of Iron.